Hello everybody, welcome back to Hobby Farm in the Heights. I'm Ruth. It has been a very long time since I posted a video, so I apologize for that. Life was busy, crazy, etc. And I feel like I am so far behind this spring with all the busyness, but I will try to condense a few things that I'm doing when I have a few minutes here and a few minutes there to work out in the greenhouse. My poor greenhouse is pretty messy these days, but one day I'll get it nice and clean again, and I kind of get out here and work when I can, etc. So I know a couple people have asked me, what should I be doing right now? And this being, let's see, what's today? March 22nd. We are in the technical part of spring. And in my region, which is 7, we have been in spring weather for a couple weeks now. And so I did about a week and a half ago get a couple things planted. I got some herbs planted and some flowers, and I had intended on getting some peppers started because peppers tend to be a little slow, but I was a little slow this year, and so I actually just got those planted. But a couple things, I will back up and we'll kind of start from the beginning of garden planning a little bit. And one of my goals this year is to get all of my plans kind of compiled into a garden notebook. So we'll see. Sometimes best laid plans for me, it doesn't always work out. But I actually have records going back to 2017 of my garden plans. This was my 2019. I don't know how well my pencil markings show up, but I always plot out my garden, my entire garden on graph paper. That might be a little, I don't know. I don't know if obsessive compulsive is the right term, but anyway, here's 2020, and then I have this year's 2021. And you might think, why in the world do I take the time to draw it out by scale and plot out? Well, the reason is because you want to do effective crop rotation in your garden, meaning you want to every 3 years plant the same crop in the same spot, but no sooner than that. Especially your nightshade family, your potatoes, your peppers and tomatoes. You can build up disease in your soil. You can get pests going that you don't want, especially if you're trying to grow as organically as possible, like I try to do. And so my obsessive garden planning helps me keep track of where I have planted a certain crop in a certain year to know how to effectively move my plots around in my garden space. And so I don't end up planting something that shouldn't be planted in that spot till the next year or so. And so that's the reason why I do this. It also helps me when it comes to planting day, know exactly where I'm going to put things, just measure out and go. To me, it helps expedite that process for me a bit. You might have a different way of doing that for you, but I would highly recommend keeping records and plotting, especially if you are growing in like a raised bed instead of just the ground like I do, because you really want to make sure that you do not put the same crop in this same spot or even the same family in the same spot every year. You want to rotate and keep track of your rotations so that you don't get, you don't get those diseases coming into your crop and killing your crop and wasting all your efforts. It's heartbreaking when you have a crop that you've started from seed, you've babied it along, and then it dies before you can get a harvest. So I like to prevent that heartbreak when I can, and this is one of the ways that I do. And so one of the things I actually got done this winter was plotting it out. I had time to sit when I was snowed in, and then the snow melted and I had no more time. So anyway, that's the tip. So I did get past my planting stage, and I do have a few seeds started in here. I have some peppers and some tomatoes started. I have some flowers started, but I would recommend getting those going as soon as possible. I have a bunch of seeds here that I need to get planted, the rest of my herbs and some flowers. And I think I talked last year about how I like to, in my vegetable garden, grow a lot of flowers. Not only are they a good natural pesticide, something like a marigold that has a pungent smell to it. It kind of keeps away some of these nematodes and other pests that can really wreak havoc on your garden. But also, they attract really good pollinators. You want those bees working in your garden as much as possible. And they just look pretty. I like them. As you'll notice, I did start some delphinium and things just because I like flowers. And I like to mix them in around the yard and especially in the garden to attract all those pollinators. Anyway, I'm trying to think of what other things about every single crop that you can get going. Now is the time to do. Earlier, we could have started more of our early spring crops. I do have some sweet peas in here that I did start earlier. But you could get your radishes and lettuce going outside. I'm gonna go ahead and start my lettuce starts inside just because, again, the obsessive compulsiveness of me, I like to have my lettuce all out in a row. And the easiest way for me to do that is to pre-sprout them in my greenhouse and then transplant them, just because I'm terrible at thinning. I'll admit it, I'm terrible at thinning out my crops. Anyway, the radishes I will get planted hopefully this weekend, I'm hoping, if I have time. I have a few volleyball matches this weekend, so we'll see if I actually have time. And get my cabbage going. My cabbage I also like to start in the greenhouse and then put out. But all of these crops that are kind of your cold resistant crops, get them going, and then get those peppers and tomatoes, your cucumbers started, even your zucchinis, you can go ahead and get those started in the greenhouse, not outside. We won't be putting out our summer warm season crops until right around Mother's Day. The week before Mother's Day is usually pushing it around here. I like to do it right around Mother's Day, just because we tend to get those freaky late season frosts. It might just be one night, but it's enough to kill your crop. And again, I tend to try to keep away from heartbreak when I can. So hopefully I will be able to scratch out some more time to work out here, get some things cleaned up, I'm hoping, and get these seeds started. One thing we gotta mention, you'll notice that a lot of my seed packets here are already opened. So often you get a lot more seeds in a seed packet than you actually use, especially if you have a smallish garden. And I will say, if you are have a small garden, it isn't always as cost effective to sprout and grow your own. Sometimes it is actually more cost effective just going down to your local garden center, and I stress local garden center, and buying the plants and putting them straight in that way. If you're only needing, 1 or 2 plants, it can be more cost effective for you that way, unless you enjoy sprouting them like I do. And I do grow more than 1 or 2 plants of each variety. So for me, sprouting from seed is more cost effective, but you'll have to make that decision for yourself. Also, I do save the seed packets for year after year. Like, this is cilantro, and I've had good luck keeping seeds for about 2 years, as long as I keep them in a cool, dark place. I don't keep them in the greenhouse. I take them in the house for summer and winter. Underneath the stairs is this dark and kind of coolish place that I store my seeds. And I've had pretty good luck. It's not 100% germination rate. The germination rate does go down year after year, and so I've only kept seeds for about 2 years, and then if I still have seeds left over in my packet, I kind of toss them and get fresh, because it's not worth all the time and effort to have a very poor germination rate, to me anyway. Again, I have only so much time and I don't really want to waste it on a wasted effort. Anyway, but I do have a lot of seeds from last year, so I didn't have to purchase very much this year, which is always good for the pocketbook. But I do want to get the rest of them going. Hopefully I can get all the rest of the herbs that I want planted, and my flowers and all the vegetables, especially basil. I love growing lots of basil each year, and so I need to get that going, and hopefully it'll sprout. Just touch briefly, one of the things I did was very good at this winter, despite all the busyness and difference of life, how life has been, on the whims of our lovely governor. Anyway, I have been collecting various containers, and I think I did a video last year about using what you have and using unique containers. This is a cupcake container. I don't know if you, but it will do great. Once I poke a hole and make some drainage holes, that will make a good sprouting little greenhouse in there. I have about 4 of those my aunt gave me. And you'll recognize my pie containers that I used last year. Those have got flowers going in them already. This over here, I'm not sure if you can see it very well. I have it going here. This was, I believe, a Costco muffin container at one time that has my containers. And then I do wash and reuse my pots from year to year and save those so I don't have any pot costs or very little. And I try to find my potting soil on sale whenever I can.